Live video is starting. Hello, Facebook friends. How you doing? Happy New Year's Eve. It's Mel here. If you haven't met me before, I am Mel. Obviously, I just said it's Mel here. And I'm just checking some technical things because Facebook is usually a little bit dodgy when it comes to me touching tech, so just making sure everything is on. And so if you are on, I can't see you, but hopefully I'll be able to see your comments, so hopefully you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me, and while you're there, why don't you tell me where you're from as well. So today I think I'm nervous, but I think I'm also a bit excited because I just wanted to share this video with you because I just got the urge to share how this past year, has turned out and has not turned out. Well, it's like the year in reflection, and I really felt like it was an important live video to share with you because for me, especially if you've not seen me before, if this is the first time you've actually seen me on here or watched any of my videos or seen any of my content, I was majority sharing my experiences of overcoming over 2 decades of compulsions, especially binge eating. Anyway, I wanted to share this year because for the last few years I've been helping men and women overcome destructive eating behaviors, and during that time I've been sharing my experience as a binge eater, but really suffering from all sorts of compulsions. And I really felt like this video was really important to share with you because this year has been probably one of the most hardest years ever. I think hardest years ever in a way that I was very confused. I wasn't really too sure what was happening in my transformation, because what I found out during my transformation, and when I say transformation, there's this evolution as we, continue with life, as we experience the human experience. And you'll get to a point where you'll start to question your life. Have you achieved what you wanted to achieve in your life? And especially when you get to my age, I'm 47. This year has been really, really hard for me, and I really wanted to share this video because I think what I've learned this year is going to help you as well if you can relate with any of the things that I share during my struggles of compulsions and self-sabotaging behaviors. And if you're not really familiar with those terms, I will go into that a little bit more as this video continues. So this live, we're going to be talking about our human experiences, why I found myself self-sabotaging all the time. What does self-sabotage actually mean, on a high level, and how this affected the way my life turned out. And when I recognized these things happening in my life, I was able to then go back on the path of creation and creating my life with intention. And that meant and what I'm really saying is that you get to a life where you think to yourself, am I happy? am I happy with what I've achieved? Is the life that I'm living right now, you know, if I was to be on my deathbed, like tomorrow as an old granny, would I be happy with how my life's turned out so far? And I'm 47 years old, so I'm kind of like, I guess this is the point where loads of people have that midlife crisis, don't they? Because they suddenly realise that they've spent the first 50 years trying to you know, do the done thing, like have that perfect job and be the perfect wife or be the perfect husband, and trying to do things in order to feel like they've achieved something. And then midlife comes and they realize, sugar, you know, I haven't done the stuff that I really wanted to do when I was younger. I really wanted to go traveling, and then I wanted to go and drive, you know, a Formula One race car, or, you know, I got married at 16 and I never got to experience. And this is probably the reason why that term midlife crisis comes, because it is that point where you kind of think to yourself, right, I'm not quite on the deathbed yet, but, you know, I've come to this middle point of my life, and is this, you know, is this it? Is this as good as it gets? And I remember having those first questions come up in my 30s, actually. In my 30s, I started asking myself, is this as good as it gets? One of the sentences that haunted me for a long time was, is this as good as it gets? The reason, like I said, the reason why I wanted to share this video is because this year has been one of the most challenging years ever in reflection, but has also been probably the most awakening and most enlightening years so far, like the year. And when I say awakening and most enlightening, is that for the very first time in my whole life, I can honestly answer that question, that is this as good as it gets? No, it isn't as good as it gets. And the reason why that question used to haunt me was because I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue how to make it better than what it was, what it is. Because every single year I would be in this position, New Year's Eve, and I'll have this list of things that I want to do. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this, and I'll do that. I'll stop, you know, I'll stick to my diet, I'll lose this weight, I'll do my sports, I will take up this course, I will, you know, I have these things to do. But then every single year I would have that, is this as good as it gets? It never seemed like things were really moving on. I was just almost like putting whatever things that I had on that New Year's Eve list for New Year's Day, you know, that New Year's resolution, and then carry it forward every single year, every single year, every single year, every single year. And then before I know it, like 10 years has passed, and my New Year's resolution has just stayed the same. And I think because, like I said, the reason why this year was the hardest year ever was because for the first time I'm seeing things so clearly. Like, I see for the first time. And the reason why I never really knew the answer to, is this as good as it gets? Because on hindsight, and the things that I've learned this year was because it was as if I was asleep. It's like, how can you make things better if you don't know how to make things better? Yeah, technically I knew that I wanted to lose weight at the beginning, or I wanted to eat better, and I wanted to, have a certain goal, a fitness goal or whatever goal it was. But I didn't really get it. I was like, it's almost like, how would I like find an analogy for this? It's almost like knowing the fact that, everyone else is queuing, like you're in the shopping mall. This just popped in my head, by the way. You're like in a shopping mall, and then you see that everyone's crowded over this desk, and you're thinking, oh, that must be interesting. So you go and queue up for ages because you think, because everyone else is doing it, it must be really good. I don't know if you're like getting this at all, but I know that I used to think like that all the time, because everyone's queuing over there, that it must be good, there must be something like that FOMO thing. And then you're there, and then you get there, and it's like, oh, I wasn't really interested in that at all. And I think that is why my New Year's resolution just felt like it was a never-ending loop. It didn't feel like 1 year. It felt like 1 year had dragged into 10 years and then 2 decades. But within that, it just felt like I was suffering the whole time. And it wasn't like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like suffering the whole time. But I had an illusion that stuff was the stuff that made me really, truly happy. And at that time, when I was suffering for those 2 decades of destructive behavior, either drinking or binging or like partying and like going from one relationship to another, blowing all my money on handbags and shoes and jewelry, and then OCD cleaning the whole house. And in those like years when I was doing that, I thought that was what was really making me happy. But it just, when it came to getting to the front of that desk, when I found out, oh, I thought this was what made me happy, because everyone is doing it. Everyone's like buying new handbags. Everyone's, going out eating all the time, and, it's all right. Like everyone else is doing it. Everyone else is, binging and getting drunk. All my friends were, because they were doing it. That must mean that that's where happiness is. And looking everywhere around, looking for happiness in relationships. But then it got to the bit that I really wanted, that connection with that relationship. And I found out, actually, it was just the Thursday night meet up, and that was just the relationship that I had. But I was just so blinded by the stuff to make me happy, that I thought that was happiness. I don't know if that makes any sense to you lot at all. And so it wasn't until I started in this, I would say like a spiritual journey by accident. And, you know, like I don't want to go into that story like in too much detail, because I think I've shared that, you know, where did I share that in? I can't remember like now, but I shared it in one of the videos I share with you later. But in a nutshell, that I was again on a self-sabotaging loop where I had blown probably a good 30 grand on courses and stuff to help my business. And I accidentally came across hypnosis, and well, it wasn't just hypnosis, it was rapid transformational therapy. It's a unique method. At the time I thought, you know, I thought it was unique, but now I've been in this industry for such a long time, it's actually a combination of the things that I know put together. But anyway, that to the side, I had my first insight into what I was really looking for. What I was looking for was really who I was. I was looking for me, the true me. The true me without any conditioning, without the people queuing up in that one desk telling me that this is the way life should be, without my parents' expectation on how success should look like, without my friends saying this is how we should look like, or the media, or my culture on how I should behave. The conditioning, even beyond the skin that I am in, it's who I am without all the stuff. And like I said, that's why this year was the hardest of all my years, because it all came to an unfolding. This year, at the beginning of this year, was probably the first time that I really saw life with my eyes, like literally my eyes. I could see what life was without the concepts. And when I said the concepts, what we think life should look like, and the interpretation of life through people's eyes, and then telling you it should look like this. And when you remove all that rubbish, all that clutter, which is not saying that their thoughts and their experiences is not real to them, it's just that it's not necessarily true or a fact, and it may not be true for me. And when I removed all that clutter, I felt peace for the first time. I felt safe. And it was in that space, the paradox of it is when we really can. I've experienced this year for the first time what manifestation actually meant. And it was so funny because I have been following this kind of like, I don't know what you call it, like trend of manifestation. You've probably heard of The Secret. I think I read the book about 20 years ago, and I just thought it was a bit woo-woo. I come from a very science-based background. I used to work in investment banking and private equity, and I was not woo-woo at all. But as I continued going on this journey, I realized it's just freaking science. There is a code to how we behave, and when we actually know and sift through all the garbage of the shoulds, you realize that when you align to your true self, what I mean is, like I said, the true self is before the conditioning. This is how elite people create stuff that are unimaginable, because I realize that everything is available to everyone, and the only reason why we don't get the stuff that we really want is because we just no idea. We don't know how stuff works. And it's not even that complicated. And without like going through all the details, and that's the reason why I created the 12 days of cherishness like a couple of weeks ago, because I have combined everything that I'd learnt like on reflection and the codes of how the human experience actually works in the 12 videos of the 12 days of cherishness. Really dig in real deep into it, because when you know how stuff works, and I'm not talking about facts, because when it comes to, for example, logic and emotion, it's really hard to take action with logic. For example, the most logical thing is like how many people die of smoking, like globally. But we know that's a fact. You smoke and there's like a really, really huge chance of getting, illnesses that will kill you, or a heart attack, for example. Like, it's directly linked to our lifestyle. You don't do enough exercise, you eat loads of crap, and and you don't look after your body, and then that's a high increase in heart attack. Facts do not make any difference to us when it comes to emotional, because when it comes to looking at a cake and the facts of the stats of whether you're going to die, you're thinking, I can start again tomorrow. It doesn't work. But what I'm saying is the truth. When you know how we run, like how the human experiences work, for example, when you really realize that fears are based on an illusion. For example, if my daughter was to draw a monster on a piece of paper and she held it to you, you wouldn't be scared, would you? But you'd be surprised how many fears that you're scared of are just like the drawing of the monster. We are practically scaring ourselves to death. And this is what I discovered, really, really discovered over the last few years, but especially this year, as I have faced so many fears and realized the proof was in the pudding, because I'm still here. I'm still safe. I haven't lost a limb. I haven't lost any friends. And that's the thing. That was one of the biggest and the hardest things that I've had to go through this year, and is to face a lot of my fears. A lot of my fears, just like public speaking, standing here, sitting here, talking to you on Facebook Live and not having a clue what I'm talking about, because literally I only decided 2 hours ago, I have an urge to share my year, because I really want to help you not to spend another year carrying forward your New Year's resolutions and end up wasting any more time. Because what another thing I found out is that we will have the same problems again and again and again and again until we learn about it and resolve it. The problems that we are facing right now and we continue to face is because we need to deal with them, and it will not go away unless we deal with them. And that's what I have found. And the mind-blowing thing is when you actually face your fears, the level of ascension in your human experiences and your life, mentally, physically, and the things that you can achieve is just mind-blowing. The opportunities that come with each fear that you face, it's incredible. It's almost like if you were to see fear, it's almost the gateway to the treasures that you're looking for. Whatever treasures you're looking for, whether it's a relationship, whether it's to make peace with eating, whether it's having a certain amount of money in your bank, whether it's having a good relationships with your family, every single one of them had a gate to go through. And it's usually because we're just scared to be ourselves. We don't own ourselves. We either, that's from my personal example, is we either hide away. So I hide and I didn't bother doing public speaking, which then stops me from sharing the things that I've learned, which then is kind of selfish because other people who have, who could have benefited with the information that I have don't get to benefit from the information. Then they'll have to spend 2 decades or more trying to figure it out by themselves, when I could literally help them collapse time and make it a lot easier for them so they don't have to suffer as I did. Or we tend to react from our conditioned self, which means that the behaviors that we don't like about ourselves, we end up breaking friends, fighting with each other. We end up hurting one another. We end up, we just don't speak to one another. We end up hurting each other because we just don't understand. I didn't understand. I didn't understand that when I used to get triggered, this word that you hear all the time, it wasn't the true me. For example, people, like when I've been like working with the binge eating area, people get triggered by looking at a cake or looking at a buffet. Why is that? Logically, it doesn't make sense. Because when you think about it logically, would you worry if a little child gets triggered by looking at a cake or looking at a buffet? You would get seriously worried there's something wrong. But we seem to accept that it's okay to feel triggered if you're an adult, because you have cause of concern. You're a binge eater, so therefore I get triggered with buffets. You don't get triggered with buffets. You don't get triggered by cake. You get triggered by the learnt self, the conditioned self, the part of you that is being hidden away imprisoned. The part of you that one way or another, there's some part of you at a time that you needed to shut that person down. The little girl or the little boy, maybe naughty, didn't fit in, got picked on, got bullied, told you were too loud, too tall, too fat. It's got nothing to do with the cake. It's got nothing to do with the buffet. It's just that it's a reaction from the not true you. And this is what I shared in my 12 days of cherishness. When you realize how we work, it's like you can do something about it. When one of the things, like to share like an example, is that like I said, one of my fears was public speaking. When I realized that there is no fear there, and it's just my learnt self that was taking me like back like a time machine, where I was told that I should be quiet, and people could hear me from the other neighborhood, and people would make fun of me, and I would get teased by my dad and my brother and saying that I'm too loud, or look at him. When I realized that the reason why I was scared of like being myself is because I had these things in my mind, and the fear is not real. It's like that friggin' monster drawing of my daughter. I wouldn't go, it's a monster, but that's what I was doing. And the funny thing about our subconscious mind, which I've been really now, like I'm awake and I know how the human experience works, it even affects our physiology. Like just before going on this Facebook Live, I still have to make a conscious effort to move myself from the subconscious conditioned mind to the conscious me, the true self. I started, believe it or not, sneezing, having a cold. Look, this is my snot rag. I was sneezing and sneezing and sneezing. That is my subconscious mind trying to keep me safe, trying to stop me from doing this Facebook Live, because my learnt self fears being seen because of my past. And the thing is, I explain in the 12 days of cherishness, which I've done right now, that we are such a, like there's no way of pinpointing exactly where things come from. And I also believe that we can spend years and years and decades talking about, oh, my mum did this, oh, my dad did this, oh, I got bullied this, I got bullied that. We get like information overload. But nothing really changes unless we do something, unless we face our fears and continue. And this is what I wanted to do, the Facebook Live today, was that the things that kept me stuck last year, like this year just gone, is pretty much following, you know, what, like relating to my business, following gurus. And I'll give you like the two sides, following gurus of how I should build my business. And because I've always been like a very good follower, you know, like I'd be so methodical, and I was always good like at following A, B, C, D, and I just yep, I'll do it robot style. And you know, I would do spreadsheets, and it was always it always worked for me. Back in the past, like when I was a child, you get a certain qualification, and then, you know, you graduated from college, you do a project at work, and they celebrate, you've done this. So again, the learnt self, the not true us, has got a lot of evidence to support what we do. Like every time you follow instructions, more often than not, it comes to result. It has been proven. But when it comes to really living a fulfilling and joyful and happy life, and creating the life that you really, 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 really want, and knowing that there's stuff in this world that you would love if you won £1 million, or if there was no fear, that's what you would do. But because the learnt self is so predominant in our lives that we are so confused who we are. And so anyway, so sorry, I just lost my train of thought then. But I think what I'm trying to say is that the reason why I was stuck most of the time is because I was just following. That was it. I was following what other people's successes were. And because the learnt self is so convincing, I didn't realize I was still not being aligned. I was still not being me. And that's why things didn't work. Things didn't work because I was not doing me. I was not doing in a way that suited me. And it was really ironic because in my private Facebook group for binge eating, I do share a method. I call it the Recovery Action Plan. And it has been designed to help people overcome compulsions. But really, if you picked up that like 7 days recovery action plan, you can apply it to any situation of your life. But I didn't realize, I just thought it was just for one part of my life, and I didn't realize it actually was the formula for everything. It was the formula. The formula is really being aligned to your true self. Being able to say no when you really don't want to, but then that pressure of saying yes, because in the past that saying yes meant you didn't create problems. Saying yes meant that people will like you. But you can only go on for so long, and then you realize that you've actually lived a life for everyone else, not for yourself. And this is I guess the reason why I wanted to do this like Facebook Live is because I wanted to share with you now the top things that I have learned this year. And that was, the shoulds are so important to notice. Are you doing things because you should do it? Or are you doing things because you want to? And for next year, the things that you're going to put in your New Year's resolution, whether you want to, like, if you want to do a New Year's resolution, this is my recommendation, like from my experience, is what is it that you really want? What is the why? Because the things that really moved the needle for me this year is that the why was consistent. Because no matter how shit things became throughout the year, how bad it was, how bad I felt in my body, the why I wanted to do the things that I wanted to do, that I wanted to create something that I would be proud of, and to be able to open people's eyes to the truth of what I've learnt, so that one by one that I can help people as it's helped me to stop holding themselves back from the life that they want. And when they stop holding them back, they can start creating magic in the world. Like for example, I did a video the other day on the step-by-step things that I did to manifest my dream house. And didn't even realize that I was doing that until I looked back. And it was because my why was so strong that happened so quickly. And now looking back at the history of my life, and I, if you can do that, look back in the history of your life and see where your life started pivoting. You'll find it's when you made a decision, this is what you wanted and this is what you were going to do. And the things that didn't move was because you were just queuing up in that queue and seeing if that'll work, but really didn't know what was at the end of that queue. It wasn't clear. And that is pretty much the high level of how to explain how we get anything we want in life. It literally is, how clear is it that you want? Everything that we get in this life started with a thought and started with how much you want it. Everything that we didn't get is because of two things, pretty much, is your why wasn't clear enough. It wasn't clear enough. Or you were doing the shoulds. You should do it this way. And you were influenced by the learnt self. So, which is the same thing. That's why I say it's two. The learnt self, which is not the true you, which is the shoulds. And then you end up in this, in that vicious cycle of repeating yourself, almost like the insane, doing the same things again and again and again and again and again, and expecting a different result. So I just wanted to see if I've covered everything I wanted to talk about today. And one of the things that also helps with moving that needle to make a change, to actually get what you really want, is to remember all the things that did happen that was really good. So what we tend to do is, like, about this time of the year, we usually just forget about last year. We usually just scrap the whole thing and just say, right, from next year I'm going to do this. But we don't really look back on what we have achieved. Like I said to you, this year was probably the most hardest, but I almost dismissed all the different things that really did happen this year. And I did mention it was like one of my enlightening moments where I just saw things so clearly. This year, like, I'm going to spend a really good 1 hour or maybe 2 hours tomorrow. Today is a little bit busy because I'm going out tonight. But I'm going to reflect on the things that went really well for me last year, because it's so important for the way that our minds work, our greater mind, which I call the greater mind. is basically the intelligence behind us as a human being, which cannot be intellectually understood. So no matter how much we think about it, it's just beyond our intellect to actually know it. And this is often the reason why we can't figure out our own problems, because we're thinking about it too much. How can we think about it too much when most of our being is not intellectually done? It's only a small fraction of it. Most of the magic that happens in our lives is done subconsciously. Like the fact that I'm talking right now, I don't have to think about how to talk. That is all done subconsciously. The blood going around my body is all subconscious. I don't have to think about it. And when you start understanding on how we work and trust ourselves more, you'll find that just like if we cut ourselves, we naturally heal. And even if you had a bad accident and you didn't die and you went to hospital, that the doctors would just stitch you up and then leave you to do the rest of the magic of healing. When we stop interfering with the shoulds of the made up rules of the conditioned world, that is when we really start creating the life that we want. So part of that is to celebrate all the things that we did achieve last year, even the small things. For me, it was creating a better relationship with my partner. He used to pee me off all the time, and I did a video yesterday about how I deal with our fights now. And we used to have such a like a really, really crazy relationship because we were fighting all the time. But this is because I wasn't aware of how we work as a human being. And another thing that I achieved this year was really, really understanding how our human experience works. That's probably the gift that I shared in the 12 days of cherishness. 12 days of cherishness is probably one of my biggest achievements this year, because I literally go into so much detail of what I'm talking about here, where you're probably thinking, I don't know what you're talking about, Mel. This is just totally mind-blowing. I don't know what you're talking about manifesting. I don't know what you're talking about learned self. I don't know what you're talking about self-sabotage. It's all in the 12 days of experience. And I'll tell you a bit later how it's still not too late to watch the replays of that. And yeah, so that was like, it was so much better than I could ever have dreamt about. When I was thinking about doing that 12 days of cherishness, it was really random. I saw somebody doing 12 days of Christmas, giving out giveaways, and I thought, why not share my 12 days of cherishness? And it started off by maybe like doing something little, sharing like little techniques and stuff to get you through Christmas. But as I started creating the videos, I thought, oh my God, this is bigger than Christmas. This is friggin' life-changing. So the 12 days of cherishness, it literally is like life-changing. It really goes into why we do what we do, why we don't achieve what we want, how we can achieve what we want, the methods to help us go through the hard times, how we are like as part of this ecosystem with one another. And once we understand that, how everything starts to change, our relationships with how we eat and how we, self-sabotage, and how things start feeling more at peace, how conversations with each other changes, how we identify ourselves, plus the meditations as well through that, but I'll go through that in a moment. But yeah, so that was the best thing I've probably done. Like, I think it's probably the best thing I've done so far in this business. And I did public speaking, which is with my biggest fears. So even though I had all those like uncomfortable feelings of having that realization that I had to let go of what I thought was right, what I thought the other gurus should tell me how to do things, because it seemed to be working from them. What I realized was that I have found a way to help other people find their truth. Because when you find your own truth, you don't need to have a motivation to do it, because it's what you want to do. You don't need to find like a technique to be who you are, because when you know, like, it feels so good anyway, this is just what you want to do, things start to feel a lot easier when you're not just doing, like, following a certain diet because you have to, but because you want to. Things start changing exponentially quick when you realize that actually you don't have to struggle. You can enjoy yourself and create the life that you want. So that's the best things of my life. So going forward now, these are the things that I'll be pondering over tomorrow, and I invite you to do the same thing if you don't want to end up like me, like I did for the last 2 decades before I started this spiritual healing journey. Was write down, first of all, the things that went really well for you and why it went really well for you. What did you do that made that work for you? And then write down the things what didn't go well and why it didn't go well. Be honest with yourself, because you don't have to share this with anyone else. It's your life. And if you want to change your life, if you want to live the life that you really truly look back on your deathbed and not saying, oh, was that as good as it gets? Or is that it? I'm going to snuff it and that's what I've left. Or not be the ones to say, oh, I wished I could have loved more. I wished I could have spent more time with my family. I wish I could have traveled more. I wish I could have done this more. This is such an important part of the process to actually change. Not change you as per se, but to change the way that you've done things a million times that hasn't worked for you. So have a real honest conversation with yourself and ask yourself, why didn't it work? What could have you done to make it work? And then write those down for your New Year's resolution next year. And then let them go and just find a way to let go of the shoulds. And another thing that I realized was that for a long time I tried to do it on my own, and the things that have helped me get to where I am now is because of me trusting people to help me. I was stuck for a long time because I just thought I could do it on my own. I could muddle away, because we don't actually make a change. That's the truth about the human experience as well. We don't make a change unless we're literally on our deathbed. If we are broken leg, we'll go to the hospital. But if we, like for example, if you've got a toothache and it really, really frigging hurts, it's like, oh my God, it's just going to kill me. It's like really painful. And you book yourself into the dentist and they say they can't see you for another week. And then suddenly the next day it's gone. You're like, not motivated anymore to go, I'll be fine. You know, because you know it's like going to cost like about 500 quid or something to get your teeth done. You're like, nah, it's okay, I don't need it anymore, it doesn't hurt anymore. We tend to not take any action unless it's too late, unless we've just had a heart attack, unless, you know, we lose our jobs. We will continue in a job that we hate as long as we've got the job, but then be relieved when we're sacked because it gives us the opportunity to find somewhere new. We tend to not move because we fear of the unknown more. So yeah, it's a journey. And for me, what has helped me is trusting that there's other people that have done the journey before you. They know how to do things, and find that help if you need to, especially if you've been stuck in that cycle for years or even decades like myself. And what I've learned is, now that I've gone through that journey, is that even the ones that I invested in that I thought, oh my God, that was a load of shit, but what it did was, like, I started to question, what was the lesson that I had, like investing in that person. Sometimes just investing in a person that didn't help me at all just made me realize how much I actually did know. It made me more confident about what I did know, like what I knew. Sometimes I invest in something and I didn't learn anything apart from just that reassurance. The reassurance that I was enough. Sometimes that's the way that it is. But if you're suffering from compulsions and you're there going around in circle, it doesn't matter how good a coach is, how good a therapist is, how good that person is helping you. If you don't face any of your fears, if you don't do the things that are going to move you towards the life that you really want as well, it's not going to happen. It's not, you know, that's the thing about, like I explained in that video about manifestation the other day. It's like everyone seems to think that manifestation is you wish, and then it's just like boop, it plonks in front of you. But I have found a science behind manifestation, which I shared in that video with the house the other day. There is a science behind it, but it does mean that you have to take the steps. Like, it's almost like, just in a nutshell, you have to go halfway, and then the solutions that you want to have the life that you want meets you halfway. And that's when you can really create the dreams that you want. So anyway, I have been on for an hour. I can't believe I'm such a chatterbox. So anyway, I've mentioned the 12 days of experience. At the moment, I need to update those and add the meditations in there with the music and everything. So at the moment, that is only for £555 for until the first 2 weeks of January, and then it goes up to 1,111. Like I said, this is a masterpiece. It literally goes into how we actually work with as a human being. Like I mentioned to you before, you can have all the techniques, you can have all the understanding of where your behaviors come from, or the history of your family trauma, or you could literally write a book of why you behave the way that you are. but without knowing like how the human experience is actually created, how like the mechanics work, then it's going to be very difficult for you to really know which is right and which is wrong, which direction to go. It's like I said at the beginning, it's almost like you'll be wondering, you know, is this as good as it gets? Because you really, you know, like I was, you got it, but you didn't get it. And that 12 days of experience, that 12 days is cherishedness goes really, really deep into the experience as a human being, and it literally answers all the questions that you've been asking yourself, why you've been stuck, why you keep sabotaging yourself. And it also has like a few things to help you face your fears, to help you through the almost the conflict that you will face, because the learnt self, like I said, it's the part of you that has been conditioned, is going to fight, because you've been running on the learnt self for so long, and that's probably why it feels like you've been on autopilot if you've been struggling with not achieving the life that you want. And, you know, it's just like that saying is, if you don't know, how do you know, really? You just know that this is not what you want, you know. So, but for the next 24 hours only, I am offering that at 50% off for only the first 8 people. So if you message me on my personal inbox, I will set up a payment to go through for 50% off that, and if it's after the 2 weeks, 50% off the full projected price. And what you'll get is 12 days of videos of taking you really to the journey to your soul. It literally is a journey to your soul. You will learn so much about who you really are and who you have been so far, the reason why you're not achieving what you want to achieve, and why you keep sabotaging yourself, and what is self-sabotage, what that really looks like. And if you really looked at it, at least then you'll prepare yourself. Like today, I was sneezing like hell, and today I kept saying, it's safe for me to use my voice, it's safe for me to use my voice. And have I sneezed once? No. It really goes into like the freaking subconscious mind is so powerful that if you've ever had a cold sore, like have you ever had a cold sore? My cold sore used to come up when I'm stressed. Stress, where does that come from? Thinking. How can a friggin' thought make me have a cold sore? So that's only just like a little pinch of how powerful our minds are. And that in that 12 days of cherishedness, I share with you like how to identify this. And believe me, once you recognize them, it's going to be so much easier to look at a cake or to have that conversation with somebody who irritates you, but you can't get rid of them because they're part of your family. You know, so it's going to help with life. And the funny thing is that it doesn't make you put up with shit. It just makes you realize the truth that everyone is asleep. And when you see the truth, it's almost like watching TV. You're not emotional when it comes to watching TV. You know you're going to walk away and make a cup of tea later on. You know that horror, like monster in the horror film is not real. You're not going to like, you know, get chased all day long and all week with that horror monster. Unless, of course, that you get scared by horror films and you might not have nightmares. But at least you still know it's not real. And that's what the 12 Days of Cherishedness is designed, is to show you the truth. I really remind you how powerful you really are. And once you realize how powerful you really are, you can really create anything beyond the compulsions, beyond the addictions, beyond binge eating or whatever self-sabotaging behaviors that you have. And then I also share pretty much everyday meditations to activate your soul. There'll be really transformative, my best techniques to get through the fear. And then, oh my God, there's this one video at the end where I really take you so deep that is going to blow your mind, and it still blows my mind now. But when you get it, it's going to freaking change your life, honestly. So I'm not going to talk too much about that because it really is just so mind-blowing, and answer any of the questions, that the typical questions that comes up relating to food. But it really is the same. That's the thing, it's the same formula for the success in life. And that's another announcement I wanted to say. From next year, I am going to pivot my business. I used to concentrate on binge eating, but I think it's just restricting me, because what I found is binge eating is really to overcome binge eating is the same as to overcome any compulsions. A lot of people may beg to differ with me, but I think I should know what I'm talking about, because I have been an alcoholic, I've been a drug addict, I have been a binge eater, I have been a narcissist, and I have attracted narcissists. I have been a shopaholic, I've been OCD with cleaning, I have had fear with using my voice, and I can't, whatever addiction or self-sabotage that you could probably think of, I've probably had. Apart from gambling, for some reason. I was never really into gambling. But apart from that, I have pretty much all of that. So I can pretty much vow that when I say that the formula to have a success in life is the same for binge eating, to overcome binge eating, to overcome alcohol addiction, to overcome anger issues, to overcome any struggles in life. It literally is all the same formula that I'm been sharing, and it's pretty much what I share in the 12 days of cherishness. And it's literally, look at one area of your life that you've got a problem, and it's do it, rinse, repeat. Do it, rinse, repeat. Do it, rinse, repeat. And that is pretty much what I've done with my life. That has stopped any of my addictions. That has rekindled my relationship with my partner. Instead of fighting all the time, we would fight every now and again, but it literally wouldn't go out of hand like it was before, which has helped me build the business that I really love and get excited about, which has helped me do the things that I was scared of. And best of all, it's made me feel proud to be the mother that I've always dreamt of being, to be able to live without hiding or without hitting, without shouting, but at the same time being real. And if I lose my shit, being able to forgive myself for being freaking human. But then, because I'm able to recognize all this, it just keeps getting better. Everything keeps getting better. The relationships that I have with my parents that I used to shout and argue with keeps getting better. My relationship with my partner keeps getting better. My relationship with my daughter keeps getting better. So anyway, I just wanted to to announce that from next year, you're going to see a lot of changes, because once you understand, like I've understand so far, and don't get me wrong, I'm still at the beginning of this journey, this spiritual awakening, and I'm hoping that if you can relate to anything that I said, jump on in with me, come on a ride with me, because I'm sharing everything that I know. But obviously in Facebook I can only share like tidbits like I have today. And if you want to know like the deep ins and outs of it, like I said, if you want to personal message me, the first 8 people that message that you're interested in getting in on the 12 days of cherishness, you can watch the replay up until the 23rd of March, and you'll get it for half price if you do it within the next 24 hours. If you want to invest in the next 24 hours, so instead of 555 for now, you'll get that at half price. And I haven't got a calculator, you know, so sorry, I can't tell you. It'll be about 225 something, 50. And then after that, it'll go back to its full price. So anyway, so hello, Venita. So what did you say, gorgeous? My gorgeous, now love you to bits. Celebrating both of us as we slide into New Year. Love you, girl. Oh, I love you too. Mwah. So anyway, I think the video has stopped, but I'm going to send the recording anyway, so you can watch it without the interruptions of the internet. And then I will catch you, beautiful people, and after the new year. So thank you for watching. And again, PM me if you're interested in that 12 days of cherishness. It is actually my most proudest productions, achievements of last year. So anyway, on that note, remember who you are. Big love. Mwah. Bye-bye.